Hello and welcome to Nkumat's Online Academy. In this lesson, we want to look at other diseases of the eye. In our previous lesson, we talked about the three major defects of the eye, that is short-sightedness, or what we call myopia, long-sightedness, or what we call hypermetropia, and astigmatism. We study the meaning of them, how they affect the eye, what causes them, and how to correct them. In this lesson, we are going to learn other diseases that affect the eye apart from the three we discussed in the previous lesson. We are going to be learning about these diseases. Number one, conjunctivitis. Number two, cataracts. Number three, night blindness. Number four, xerophthalmia. Number five, color blindness. Okay, so let's start from number one, conjunctivitis. What is conjunctivitis? Conjunctivitis is a disease that inflames the eye, and it is caused by bacteria or dusts or dirty in the eye. The major thing about conjunctivitis is that it inflames the eye. What we mean by inflammation, or that it inflames the eye, is that it makes the eye to be red, and someone that is having conjunctivitis, the eye will be red, and sometimes pus or pus-like substance will be coming out from the eye, and a lot of tears coming from the eye. Conjunctivitis is also commonly called Apollo. So people call conjunctivitis Apollo, and it is a common disease that affects people once in a while. Now let's look at another disease of the eye, Cataract affects the lens of the eye. This conjunctivitis affects part of the eye we call conjunctiva. There is a part of the eye we call conjunctiva, and it is that conjunctiva that gets red and starts itching, and that is why we call it conjunctivitis. Any inflammation on the conjunctiva is called conjunctivitis, and this is caused by bacteria most of the times. Now, for cataract, cataract affects the another part of the eye that we call lens, which we discussed when we're talking about the structure of the eye. Now, how the cataract affects the eye is that it deposits some whitish substance on the lens and makes the person that is suffering it to be unable to see clearly because of the whitish stuff or the whitish substance that is deposited on the lens. You know, in the structure of the eye, the lens light passes through the lens to the retina inside the eye. Now, if something blocks the lens or something makes it not to be able to pass light very well again to the retina, the person will not be able to see very well. So if you see someone that has cataract and you look inside his eye, that eyeball that is normally black or blue, if you look at it, it will be whitish in color. That is cataracts. It usually affects people that have diabetes. And this is because it is found that that whitish stuff that whitish substance that covers the lens is actually a certain type of sugar. So, and we know that people that have diabetes, their sugar level is very high. So part of the sugar in their body will get deposited on the lens of the eye, and which now causes cataract and makes them not to be able to see things clearly. Conjunctivitis can be treated by surgery to remove the whitish substance in the lens or through special medical treatments, other medical treatments. But one of the major way of correcting cataract is by surgery to remove the whitish stuff or the whitish substance in the lens. Now, conjunctivitis can be treated using medicines that kill the bacteria. Now, let's talk about night blindness. Night blindness is an eye condition or a disease of the eye in which the person suffering it will not be able to see clearly at night. Somebody that is suffering of night blindness will not be able to see clearly at night. Now, this is usually because the person is lacking vitamin A. People that lack vitamin A, they usually suffer night blindness. So, to correct night blindness, most of the time, the person has to start taking adequate amount of vitamin A. Now, xerophthalmia. Xerophthalmia is a disease of the eye that causes the cornea of the eye to be dry, and it makes the person unable to see very well, and in some cases it also causes blindness. It is a major cause of blindness in people. It dries the cornea, so it affects the cornea of the eye, which we talked about when we discussed the structure of the eye. This is where xerophthalmia affects the cornea and it makes it to be dry. The cornea is supposed to be moist, that is supposed to contain moisture, but the this disease makes it to be dry, and when the cornea is dry, the eye will kind of wrinkle, and that will sometimes lead to someone becoming blind. It is also known that xerophthalmia is caused or is partly caused by deficiency of vitamin A. That means that people with xerophthalmia, most of them don't have enough vitamin A. So to prevent xerophthalmia, it is advisable for one to always eat enough vitamin A. Then color blindness. Color blindness is an eye disease or a situation where someone is unable to distinguish between some colors, that is to tell the difference between certain colors. Someone that is having color blindness may not be able to distinguish between red and green. So when the person cannot say the difference between two colors, not because the person does not know the color or if the person can see it very well, but when the person sees red color, it may appear to be yellow to the person, and when the person sees yellow color, it will appear as red to the person. We call this color blindness, and it is a very dangerous kind of eye problem, because if the person is a chemist that works with chemicals in the lab and the person wants to report the color of the chemical he or she is working with, maybe if the color is red, the person can report that it is yellow, and that will affect the result the person is getting. So these are the few other diseases that affect the eye. We talked about conjunctivitis, we talked about cataract, we talked about night blindness, we talked about xerophthalmia, and we talked about color blindness. Now, how do we care for the eye to generally stop getting diseases that will affect the eye? These are the precautions that we have to take, or the way we can care for our eyes. We care for the eye by not rubbing the eye with dirty fingers. Some people, if something enters their eye, they will use their finger to try to remove it, and their finger may be very dirty, and in such case they will transfer dirty or microorganism that will cause disease to their eye. So to avoid getting disease from dirty finger, you should stop rubbing your eye or trying to remove something from your eye using a dirty finger. Now another way we can care for our eye is to make sure that if we are reading, that there is adequate light. If the amount of light where you are reading is not sufficient, it can cause problem to your eye trying to adjust to be able to read. So anytime you want to read, you make sure that there is sufficient light in the place you are reading. It is not only for you to see the book, what you are reading very well, but your eye also suffers when there is not enough light and the eye is struggling to see what you are reading. You should not pass the eye through certain stress. If the eye is stressed too much, it may result to problems later in life. Another way to care for the eye is to always or regularly see the doctor that treats the eye. Sometimes some things will be going wrong in the eye, but really you will not have idea that something is going wrong in the eye because they are just developing internally without any outward sign. So it is once in a while you visit the doctor that takes care of the eye, and they will now check your eye and tell you what is wrong with your eye or if there's any impending danger or something that is about to affect your eye, so that they will take care of it because before it develops to a full problem. An eye doctor or optometrist. An optometrist is a scientist that takes care of the eye. Then another way to care for the eye is to eat balanced diet. If you are eating balanced diet, you will be able to get adequate amount of vitamin A, and you know that vitamin A is very important in preventing a number of eye diseases. Then another way of preventing or taking care of the eye is to avoid bringing sharp objects close to your eye. There could be an accident and the sharp object will get into your eye and get it affected. So always avoid bringing sharp objects close to your eye. Okay, so these are a few ways that we can take care of the eye. Now your assignments. So in this assignment, you are going to name the 5 diseases that affect the eye, apart from the three major eye defects we talked about, that is the myopia, the hypermetropia, and astigmatism. Then when you name the 5 diseases, then you state how they affect the eye. If you know the part of the eye where they affect, you have to mention it. And if there is any way to prevent it, you also have to indicate it. Thank you.